You are listening to Book Clips, a mini podcast in which authors or narrators do readings from novels. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book.
Hello, this is Brenda Murphy reading from my novel, Knotted Legacy, the third book in the Rowan House series. In this scene, Martha McLeod meets Lucia Coruso for the first time. You've read through my instructions? Madam looked at Martha from over top of her glasses. Are the directions clear? Yes, madam, very clear. Martha nodded her hands together. But there is one thing. Out with it. I don't have time for chit-chat. Imminent death focuses you as much as pain. Am I to understand you're giving me a person? A Lucia Coruso? Madam narrowed her eyes. Not giving. I want you to provide a place for her. She has been with me for the last 15 years. I want you to provide for her. Martha frowned. I understand, but why do you think Rowan House is the right place for her? Madam sat back in her chair and raised her chin at Martha. Are you questioning my judgment? No, I'm not sure I'm the right person to be her mistress. Madam laughed. Whatever gave you the impression that's what I intended. Lucia will make her own decisions. I simply want you to provide a place for her to live. My house in Givernay reverts to my niece. Lucia inherits the bulk of my estate here. Everyone else will share in what's left after the sale of the house. They have families to return to if they choose. The onyx ends with me, but for those who have developed a taste for what we've had here, there are very few places to go. Lucia has no family. Rowan House will be perfect for her. What if she doesn't want to go? Skye's a far cry from Lake Como, and our clientele tends to desire more physical forms of entertainment. Martha sipped her coffee. Has she agreed to your plan? Madam pursed her lips, her eyes dark. She will, just as you will. She exhaled forcefully and sank back in her chair. She waved her hand over the documents. Any more of my decisions you want to question? Chastised, Martha bowed her head. No, madam. She placed her cup on the table. I'll do as you ask, mistress. She'll have a place at Rowan House for as long as she desires. I will provide for her as you request. A sharp rap at the door made them both look up, and a woman entered the room. Lucia Coruso, this is Martha McLeod. Madam sat back in her chair. Lucia recently returned from Japan. She rested her hands in her lap, a half smile on her face as she observed them. Madam's demeanor as she watched them raised the hairs on Martha's arms. The woman who stood before her was as tall as Martha. Her thick, dark brown, shoulder-length hair hung in loose curls about her face and brushed the tops of her broad shoulders. Her skin was medium brown. She was dressed in black trousers and a sharply tailored white shirt. The top 3 buttons of the shirt were unfastened, giving Martha an unfettered view of her collarless neck and ample cleavage. Martha caught herself staring and forced herself to look into Lucia's face. Her eyes were a bright blue-green. Lucia looked into Martha's eyes and inclined her head. Madam has told me so much about you, Martha. The cool edge in her voice cut through Martha's fog, and she extended her hand. It's a pleasure to meet you. Martha caught the delicate scent of Lucia's perfume, sandalwood and jasmine, a subtle blend of spice and sweet. Lucia took her hand and squeezed hard, her grip firm. She kept her gaze on Martha's eyes. And you as well. The effect of her touch and the hard edge to her voice had Martha clenching her jaw. She returned the firm grip and her sharp gaze. Lucia let go of Martha's hand and turned to face Madam. I take it you've not changed your mind, madam? She pursed her lip. You want me to go with... She nodded towards Martha. Her. It was the disdain in her voice and the failure to use an honorific that set off the mistress in Martha. Madam snapped her fingers. Come here, Lucia. Lucia lowered her chin to her chest and walked over to Madam's chair. She sank to her knees. Madam reached out and grabbed her chin. You will not disrespect her. She was making subs beg for her touch when you were in grade school. She released her, and Lucia sat back on her heels. It is my final wish for you to go to Rowan House. What transpires after you are there is your business. I won't be here to care. Lucia's lip quivered for a moment before she firmed her mouth. Yes, madam. Her voice was soft, the tone one of respect. Martha watched, not speaking, waiting for Madam to signal the meeting was over. Madam fisted her hand in Lucia's shirt and pulled her face to within inches of her own. Eyes to me. Lucia raised her head. You came to me and asked for my ownership. I didn't force it on you. Trust me now. Honor my request. I will summon you to return here when I need you to attend me again. She pressed a rough kiss to her cheek and released her shirt. She looked away from Lucia. A fine tremor shook Madam's hand. She picked up the small handbell by her chair and rang it once. Gia entered the room. Take me to my room. Gia assisted her to stand. Martha waited, trying to make sense of what had taken place between Madam and Lucia. Madam glared at Martha, her eyebrow raised and her gaze hard, daring Martha to speak. Martha looked away from her mistress and watched from under her lashes as Madam walked from the room, her fingers wrapped around Gia's arm, her head high, leaving behind the force of her will. Lucia remained kneeling, her head bowed, her hand resting on her cheek where Madam had kissed her. Martha waited until Lucia rose. She kept her head down as she turned away from Martha and left the room, closing the door softly. Martha walked to the window and looked out at the garden. Bees hovered over the late September blooms, a riot of orange and yellow. She chewed her lip as she replayed her meeting with Lucia and Madam. What the hell have I agreed to? This is trouble. She's trouble. And beautiful. What am I going to do? What are you up to, Madam? This has been Brenda Murphy, reading from my novel, Knotted Legacy.
You have been listening to Book Clips. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book. If you are interested in showcasing your novel, then check out the show notes for more information.